Hello guys and welcome once again to Savannah Essence. If you're interested in making this beautiful liquid soap, then stay tuned to this video, okay? Kindly like and subscribe to our channel and invite your friends to also watch, okay? Okay, so we are making a liquid soap, and this time around we are using potassium hydroxide. That's usually or basically the difference between a cold processed bar soap and a cold processed liquid soap, and in this case we are making a cold processed liquid soap. The processes are almost the same as making a bar soap. However, we are using potassium hydroxide, which doesn't make the soap solidify into a bar, and so we turn it into a liquid soap. This video has 3 different phases. The phase 1 is me making the cold processed liquid soap batter. The phase 2 is me dissolving it into a liquid soap, and the phase 3 is me taking you through how to use the soap calculator to generate your recipe for the liquid soap. And so if you're interested in knowing how I came about this recipe or how to even generate a recipe for the liquid soap, then you have to stay tuned to the final bits of the rest of the video. For now, I'm just making the normal, how to make soap. If you are new to this channel, then let me just say kindly subscribe. But in making soap, we basically have our lye, which is usually your caustic soda or your sodium hydroxide mixed with water. You dissolve it in water rather, and then you add it to your oils. And this time around we are using potassium hydroxide, and so as you saw before, all I did was to measure it and then dissolve it into my water and then add it to my oils, and then I will make a soap out of that. And so basically that's the start and the end of how to make your soap. Now we are using just a 500 gram batch of oil, and we are using just 2 oils, which is my palm kernel oil and my coconut oil. So my lye has at this point dissolved, which is my potassium hydroxide, and I'm going to pour it into my soap, my oils, and start making the first phase of this video. Now let me say that making a cold processed liquid soap, you need a lot of patience and a lot of time. So this video was recorded in 3 days. Yes, so because it has different phases, I had to make the soap within 3 days. Usually the best is usually like a week or so, and so you need a lot of patience to be able to make this. Also, in stick blending your liquid soap, it can take between 20 to 45 minutes before it thickens up enough. So that's another thing to note. So what I do is I stick blend it for a little bit of time. I leave it, go about my business for between 2 to 5 minutes, and then I come back and stick blend it. If not, you can stay on this for close to 45 minutes to an hour, and it's still not thickening up. And so another advice I would give is that you should have made some bar soaps, because once you make your bar soap, you understand the process, and this liquid soap process makes it quite easy for you instead of jumping right into this. And so like I said, it's still very light. I'm going to leave this, go about my business, and come back later, and then and so I left it for 5 minutes and I came back, and it looks like it is separating. And so again, if this is your first time and you are seeing something like this, it doesn't mean that your soap is gone bad or your soap batter is gone bad. This is basically the processes the cold processed soap passes through before it finally forms its batter. And so once you see something like this, it means you are still on the journey to getting what you need, and it hasn't gone bad. And we'll continue to do this several times until it finally thickens. It will continue to look like it's separating, especially if you leave it and go about like I said earlier, go about your business and then come back to stick blend it. It will look like it is separating, but no, it is not. And so this is my 3rd time again. So I left it this time around for 3 minutes or so, and then went and packed some orders and came back, and I have to stick blend it, and you can see it's still a very fluid batter. This process took me roughly 25 minutes to 30 minutes before it thickened up. And so you need a lot of patience to get through this process, but it is worth it at the end of the day. Okay, so it's starting to thicken up, and at this point it starts to look like milk that has gone bad. Again, when you see something like that, it doesn't mean that your butter is gone bad. It just means it's the process. You look at how this looks like it's separated, like it's spoiled milk. No, so at this point it means that your soap is thickening up, and liquid soap starts to thicken from the bottom or from the base all the way up. And so when it gets to this point, what you need is to stir it continuously until it becomes uniformly distributed, or it becomes even. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but if you're a Ghanaian, you know how we make our banku or our TZ. That is the time to stir it like that continuously until it forms a nice uniform consistent thick batter, and then you've gotten there. You can stick blend, but at this point it becomes very difficult for you to do so the only thing you can do is to stir. So my first phase is finally coming to an end. It thickens up. You have to stir this continuously, and then sometimes I stop and try to blub it with a blender. I'll try to blend it with the blender, but it doesn't work, so I have to continuously stir. If you're an African, this is simple because this is how we make some of our dishes. It looks like TZ now, right? Okay, so the first phase is finally come to an end. My batter has thickened up nicely into the way I want it to be. At this point you cannot blend it, you cannot stick blend it, so the only thing you can do is to stir it with your spatula, and it's already well mixed at this point. I'm just trying to blend it nicely and evenly, but at this point this is a very, very beautiful whitish butter. Looks like ice cream, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do at this point is to cover it. I will have to cover this so that the saponification process will continue on till the next day. That is usually advisable. They say you should do a zap test. The zap test is picking a little bit and putting a little bit on your tongue, and if you feel a zap, then that means your soap is not ready for dilution. What I do for me is to just cover it and leave it for a number of days. I don't need to put this thing on my tongue. I do not need to. Once you cover it and you leave it, it's a chemical reaction. It needs a little bit of time. It will react nicely. Once you give it time, 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 days, it forms a nice batter, and you can now dissolve it. Okay, so I'm going to leave mine for 24 hours. This one I'm using it as a dish soap, so I've run out of dish soap, and so usually I make this as a dish soap for my dishes and for my plates and for my soaping supplies and other things, so I clean them nicely, and I like to do this, right? So all I'm going to do at this point is to like I said, cover it up and leave it for 24 hours. Because I'm using it as a dish soap, I'm not going to leave it for more than 24 hours. If I'm putting this on my skin or my hair, usually I leave it for roughly 3 days to a week. That way I'm sure that every reaction has taken place, and then I can dissolve it. So first phase of our liquid soap making process is over. This is our batter for dissolving. Now this is the second day. The second day, when I come, this is the time that people start to do the zap test. And like I said, the zap test is you pick a little bit of it, you place it on your tongue, the tip of your tongue. Once it zaps you, then you know that it's still not ready. There's still a process that is supposed to take place. But for me, once it starts forming this nice jelly consistency, my batter is ready for dilution. Especially because it's a dish soap, I really do not mind. And so at this point, I'm going to start the dilution. So let me also take you through how to dilute. Now this, I'm going to use 250 grams of the batter, and then also use 250 grams of water. So this is a 1-to-1 dilution rate. For a cold process liquid soap, if you want your liquid soap to be a bit thicker, you would want to reduce the amount of water. The thickness of your cold processed liquid soap also depends on the oils you choose. Some oils give a very thick liquid soap and some do not. Coconut oil is one of those oils that do not give you a very thick butter, but depending on the amount of water you use to dilute, it gives you the thickness you need. Also, there are other ways in which you can thicken your soap, and I'll talk about that in another video. So today we're just going to go through the process. This is a 1-to-1. Some people do a 1-to-2. So one part butter, 2 parts water, especially for those who use it for commercial purposes. That's what they do, and then they thicken it nicely with other, salt water or other things, and then it gives you a nice liquid soap that you can sell. Commercial wise, it is actually a very economical soap. You can make a lot of money by doing this, and I'll show you why I am saying so. So I did that and I left it for another 24 hours, and this is day 3. And after 24 hours, my butter has dissolved nicely. Another thing that I forgot to mention is that once you pour your water in your butter, you don't stir it. No, you just cover it and leave it. It will dissolve on its own. Okay, leave it alone. And so this has dissolved instead of just the small that is left on the bottom. But look how beautiful this soap is. Okay, just look how clear and beautiful it is. It's not cloudy, nothing. It's an excellent soap. And now I'm going to start bottling it for my dishes. So I use 250 grams of butter and 250 grams of water, and this will give me a total weight of 500 grams. And so just 250 grams of the butter can give me 2 bottles of this soap. So imagine if I was selling this would have been very good. And also look at the thickness of it. Because it's a dish soap, the thickness is excellent. But even if you are selling this, the thickness is also quite excellent for you. But if you still want to thicken it a little bit more, I'll talk about that in another video. Maybe this just a short one on how to thicken your cold processed liquid soap. But look how nice this is. I really like this recipe. It's one of my favorites for making cold processed liquid soap. And so yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second phase of this video. We have our final products ready for our kitchen and for our dishes. And if you are a seller at this point, it's ready for the market. You need to just label it and you're good to go. Isn't that beautiful? Just look at that. Look at that. Yes, I decided to just label it with my small sticky papers. Is that not beautiful? So this is how to make your cold processed liquid soap, or this is how to make your liquid soap using potassium hydroxide. And look at the amount of butter that is still left. This butter can make an additional 8 of those bottles. And so I'm going to leave this can be there for a month or 2 and it'll still be excellent. I just come back and dilute it and it's fine. I just wanted to do a small wash test, and for this soap a little goes a long way. I don't know if you've seen, I just put in just a little bit of it on my hand and it lathers beautifully. Okay, you don't have to let this. The beauty about this, or the difference between this and the bar soap, is that you don't have to let this cure for 4 weeks. You can use it after 3 days if you are making dishes. But even if you are going to bath with this, you can leave this for a week and you are good to go. But the longer it stays, the better it is. So in terms of performance, the butter that I've left, the day I dissolve it, that butter will be a bit better than this particular liquid soap. And also look at how it's cleaning the dish, and look at how it lathers nice and beautiful. So yeah, I just wanted to show you this as well. This is beautiful, by the way. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this is how to make your cold processed liquid soap. We are now going to the final part of this video, which is how to use the soap calculator to make your soap. We are using soapy.com, so you can go to whichever your search engine you use. You type in soapy.com. This is how soapy.com looks like, and then you go to the soap calculator and you click on start. So as you can see, we have liquid soap, solid soap, liquid soap, hybrid soap. Solid soap uses sodium hydroxide, liquid soap using potassium hydroxide, and hybrid is between the two of them. Again, when it comes to potassium hydroxide, it comes with different purities, and you can come to the purity and change it. I just wanted to take you through it again, but I think I made a mistake there. Yeah, so once you select the liquid soap, you can change the purity. And if you're in Ghana, just ask the women who sell the caustic soda to show you the bag which the caustic soda came from. Once you look at the bag, the purity is always there. You can always determine that. And so mine was a 90% purity, and that's what I'm sticking to. And then my total oil badge is, like I told you, that one too. You can change it whichever way form you want. And I'm using grams, but this time around I use 500 grams. So you can come here and change that. The water as percentage of oils, because it's a liquid soap, I'm leaving it at 38. And then another thing I'm changing is the super fat. When it comes to liquid soap, you do not need extra fats, because for me, I'm using it as a dishwasher, right? And the liquid soap Cpls, another thing is that your super fat needs to be between 0 to 2. Don't increase it more than 2, or else you get solids left on your, or on the solids floating on your soap. Okay, maybe I'm not saying that right. But yes, just limit the super fat to 2 if you're using it to bath. But if it's a dish soap, leave it at 0. Okay, so I'm selecting my oils here. Another good thing about soap is you can come and type within the oil selection whichever oil you want. You type it. Once it appears, you can select it and then you can use it. And so I'm using palm kernel oil and coconut oil for this recipe, and I'm using 50% for both of them. So 50% of the coconut oil, 50% of the palm kernel oil. My favorite recipe contains 80% sunflower oil, 20% coconut oil. That's another favorite of mine that I like to use. So once you do that and you click OK, your recipe is generated nicely for you. You can see your recipe totals here, and it's easy for you. You can make your soap. So yeah, this is the third part of the video, and this is how we made the soap. Yeah, so this is it. This is all the details you need to make your soap. I hope you can also use this to make your soap, and I hope you can also use this to generate your own recipes to make your own soap. So sorry if this video dragged for too long, but I thought all these were important steps for you to know before you make your soap. So thank you very much for staying tuned and watching our video. And then I hope you subscribe, especially if you are new. If you're not new and you're OG here, you've watched a few of our videos, we really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. It helps us and it helps you, helps us to create better content for you. And yeah, so basically this is it. This final part is just you can name the recipe, you can add a description, and I just decided to go through all that process for you. You can save your recipe on the cloud, you can print it, whichever way you prefer. So this is soapy calculator, and it's also one of the calculators I like to use to make my soap. Let me just say you can use soap calc for liquid soap as well. Thank you very much, and see you next one.